I was standing in the heart of my orchard, breathing in the crisp fall air, when the sound of wild laughter and heavy footsteps jolted me out of my peace. It wasn't the cheerful kind you'd expect from families picking apples. It was loud, grating, and far too carefree for my liking. My gut churned as I rounded the row of trees and stumbled upon a full-on picnic in progress. Strangers sprawled across my land like it was a public park, chomping on apples they hadn't paid for, trampling my carefully tended rows. My pulse quickened as I spotted hammocks strung between my trees, as if these people thought they were on a weekend camping trip. And there, in the middle of it all, stood a woman with oversized sunglasses and a smug grin. Lisa, though I didn't know her name yet. She had that unmistakable air about her, the kind that screams trouble. I took a steadying breath, fighting the urge to call the cops right then and there. Instead, I plastered on a polite but firm smile and approached. "Excuse me," I said, raising my voice over the blaring music. "This is private property. You can't just—" "Oh, don't be such a buzzkill." Lisa cut me off, flicking her hand dismissively without even glancing my way. "It's just an orchard. Trees are everywhere." I blinked, caught off guard. Yes, and all these trees belong to me. One of her friends, a woman in yoga pants and a blindingly neon green jacket, snickered. "Chill out, dude. It's nature. You don't own nature." I bit back the urge to pinch the bridge of my nose. "I own this land, which means everything on it, including those apples you're eating, is mine." I pointed at the baskets they'd filled with fruit they'd clearly plucked without asking. Lisa finally turned to me, tilting her head like I was some annoying fly she couldn't quite swat away. "Look, sweetie," she said, her tone dripping with condescension, "we're not hurting anyone. We just wanted a cute little picnic. You should be thrilled people want to enjoy your little apple patch." "It's an orchard," I corrected, my patience fraying fast. She smirked, like I'd just said the dumbest thing imaginable. "That's what I said." I inhaled deeply, counting to 10 in my head. "I'm going to have to ask you to leave." A few of Lisa's crew groaned dramatically, as if I'd just canceled Christmas. A guy wearing sunglasses, despite standing in the shade, scoffed. "Man, lighten up. There's tons of apples. We're not even taking that much." "You're trespassing," I said, keeping my tone even. "This isn't about apples. It's about you being on my property without permission." Lisa crossed her arms, giving me a pitying smile. "You should really be more neighborly. Ever heard of sharing with the community?" I stared at her, wondering if she was for real. "Community sharing?" I echoed, slow and deliberate. "Exactly." She waved her arms grandly, like she was teaching a toddler a life lesson. "The world's better when we share. It's just a few apples. Why are you so stingy?" I opened my mouth, then shut it again. There was no reasoning with her. She'd already decided she was the hero here, and I was just some greedy apple-hoarding jerk. Meanwhile, her friends were settling in even more. One had cranked up a portable speaker, blasting awful pop tunes that shattered the orchard's calm. A couple of kids were clambering up my trees, shaking branches so hard that apples rained down, bruising as they hit the ground. One little brat was even chucking apples at my dog, Titan, who watched the madness with the same disdain I felt. Lisa kept beaming at me, like she'd already won. "Honestly, if you were nicer, maybe people would actually want to visit your little farm." My orchard was already a successful business, but arguing that point was useless. She didn't care about reality. She just wanted what she wanted, and I was in her way. I exhaled slowly and decided to switch tactics. "Okay," I said, stepping back. "You win." Lisa's eyebrows shot up, clearly shocked I'd caved so fast. "See? Was that so hard?" I didn't reply. Instead, I turned and strolled toward the big wooden gate near my house. Lisa laughed victoriously, spinning back to her group. "Some people just need to relax, right?" I unlatched the gate and swung it wide. A rustle, a low growl, and then Titan bolted past me like a missile, followed by Apollo and Nyx, my trio of expertly trained guard dogs. They weren't there to attack. They were trained to scare, not harm. But they sure knew how to make an impression. The picnic erupted into pandemonium. A woman screamed, dropping her wine glass as she scrambled up. A guy tripped backward into a crate of apples, sending them rolling everywhere. Someone tried climbing a tree, only to slip on the stolen fruit littering the ground. Lisa's smug grin vanished, replaced by sheer panic. Are you crazy? She shrieked as Titan let out a booming bark, his teeth flashing in the sunlight. I leaned against the gate, savoring the chaos. Oh, don't be such a buzzkill, I called, throwing her words back at her. It's just nature. You don't own nature. Lisa barely had time to sputter before Nyx darted forward, snatching the picnic basket from her hands. She yelped as the sleek German shepherd weaved through the mess, treating it like a game. The sunglasses guy tried to bolt, but tripped over a branch, landing face first in the dirt. Another woman stumbled into a folding table, sending sandwiches and half-eaten apples flying. But the highlight? Lisa, in her frantic escape, kicked off a sandal that splashed into a muddy puddle as she ran. As the last of the intruders fled, my dogs trotted back to me, tails wagging like they'd just had the time of their lives. I knelt to scratch Titan's ears. Good boy, I muttered, watching Lisa's retreating figure. That's what I call community sharing. The real chaos kicked off as they scattered. Titan, the biggest and most imposing, zeroed in on Lisa's neon-jacketed friend, who flailed through the orchard like a windmill in a storm. She couldn't outrun him, not that he was even trying hard. Nyx, the speed demon, locked onto the sunglasses guy. He sprinted, but his fancy sneakers weren't made for rough terrain. He caught a root and went down hard, face-planting into a pile of manure that had been waiting for just such an occasion. The wet splat and his pitiful groan were almost too perfect. Lisa, meanwhile, was a mess. She'd lost her other sandal and was barefoot, shrieking, "Call the cops! Call animal control!" as she stumbled over fallen apples. Apollo, the trickster of the group, cut her off, barking just enough to keep her guessing. She'd dodge left, he'd block. She'd veer right. He'd be there, staring her down with that eerie focus that made people think he could read their minds. "This is illegal," Lisa wailed. "This is animal abuse. You can't sick wild beasts on people." I strolled over, taking my sweet time. "They're not wild. They're trained. And they haven't laid a paw on you." She let out a noise somewhere between a sob and a scream. "You think this is funny? You think this is a joke?" I tilted my head, pretending to mull it over. "Kinda." Her face turned a furious shade of red. She spun to her friends, most of whom were still floundering. The neon jacket lady was tangled in a bush, her outfit torn and twigs in her hair. Sunglasses guy was gagging, wiping manure off his face. Another woman, who'd been filming TikToks earlier, was sobbing over her lost phone. Lisa stomped her bare foot, which didn't quite have the impact she'd hoped. "This isn't over," she yelled. "I'm suing you. I'm having you arrested. This is harassment." I raised an eyebrow. "You trespassed, stole from my orchard, ignored me when I asked you to leave, and called it community sharing. Go ahead, call the cops. I'd love to hear you explain this." She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Her face twitched as it sank in. She was trapped, legally and logically. With Apollo still blocking her path, she panicked and bolted, leaping over apples, dodging Nyx, and racing for the road. Her friends, showing their loyalty, didn't wait. They were already speeding off in their cars. By the time Lisa hit the property line, she was panting, her perfect hair a sweaty mess. She turned, jabbing a shaky finger at me. "You'll regret this," she croaked. I leaned against a post, grinning. "Doubt it." She stormed off, limping and defeated. The dogs trotted back, proud as could be. I scratched Titan's ears. "Fun day, huh?" He huffed in agreement. Surveying the wreckage, I sighed. My orchard looked like a tornado had hit. Half-eaten apples everywhere, overturned baskets, crushed fruit smeared into the grass. A neon jacket dangled from a branch like a flag of surrender. As I started cleaning up, something glinted in the dirt. I picked it up, a phone, the one the TikTok girl had dropped. The screen was still on, frozen on a video of the chaos, her own screams blaring from the speaker. I grinned at the dogs. "Looks like we've got a bonus." I stood amid the debris, the phone in hand, replaying the glorious madness. Lisa's cries for the police, the TikTok girl's wail, the manure guy's splash. It was even better on repeat. Titan tilted his head, watching with me. "Should we make him famous?" I asked. His tail thumped. I pulled out my phone, uploaded the clip to social media, and captioned it. "When you invade an orchard and get out, lease it." The internet erupted, comments, likes, laughing emojis pouring in. Then my phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. I smirked and answered. Hello. You need to delete that video now. Lisa's voice screeched through. Lisa, what a surprise. Enjoying your viral moment. That's defamation. Slander. It's a lot of fancy words for someone who trespassed, stole, and got chased off by dogs. I cut in. But if you want the cops involved, I've got security footage too. Might add some charges to your embarrassment. Silence. I could practically hear her fuming, trying to twist this in her favor. Then her tone shifted, syrupy and fake. Look, we got off on the wrong foot. This is a misunderstanding. Let's make a deal. I snorted. A deal? You take the video down, and I won't sue for the trauma your dogs caused. I laughed outright. That's not how this works, Lisa. You'll regret this, she snapped, back to her shrill self. I have a lawyer. Connections. You're done. Tell your lawyer to watch the video first. Save them the humiliation. I hung up and blocked her. The next day, she was back, this time with a guy in a cheap suit. Her lawyer. I leaned against the gate as they marched up. Back for more apples. I asked. This is serious, Lisa huffed. You're facing legal action. Her lawyer coughed, trying to sound official. My client has suffered severe emotional distress from your reckless behavior. Remove the video and apologize, or we'll proceed. I nodded thoughtfully, then played the security footage, Lisa stomping in, stealing apples, ignoring me, throwing her tantrum. The lawyer's face fell. There's more, I said. Want to see her community sharing speech? Or where she said I can't own nature? He shut his folder. Lisa, he said, turning to her, is there anything you left out? This doesn't matter, she raged. He set his dogs on me. The video shows they didn't touch anyone, the lawyer sighed. They chased us. They barked. He rubbed his temples. My advice. Drop it. This isn't over, she screeched, storming off. Her lawyer shuffled after her, looking defeated. She didn't let it go, but the internet did the rest. The video blew up, news stories, reaction vids, memes. Lisa couldn't escape it. Apple emojis and dog gifs followed her everywhere. Her reputation was toast, and she'd done it to herself. One quiet afternoon, I stood in my restored orchard, dogs lounging nearby. I bit into an apple, scrolling through the latest headline. Lisa versus Guard Dogs, the internet's justice hit. I tossed an apple to Titan, who caught it midair. We won, buddy, I said, watching the sunset. He wagged his tail, and I grinned. Victory tasted sweet.